I officially have my position statement on AI therapy.
I'm ready. Can't wait. That was the whole purpose of this. That's why I got you on the call.
Yeah. Off the top of the dome. All right. So, I mean, look, people always say there could be use cases. You know, the supply and demand imbalance in mental health is too great. You know, there's just not enough practitioners to help people who are suffering, who are in need, who are suffering psychological distress. And I understand that. And then there's also arguments about AI therapy being available 24/7. That I also understand, AI therapy being not judgmental. But so many of the things that people are claiming, you know, except for the supply and demand imbalance issue, but people are claiming are beneficial for AI therapy is actually what helps therapy work in most cases. For example, if you have a therapist, you go to your therapist for 1 hour a week. If the therapist is skilled and highly trained, they will implement an intervention that hopefully will help you create change in your life and evolve. And then you got to go figure it out. You know, like the world is multivariable. So to think that you should just be like able to access therapy chatbot, or, you know, if therapy chatbots didn't exist, your therapist, just text your therapist at any time. Like someone cut me off in traffic. I'm freaking fuming right now. Like you're just going to, at every time that you experience some kind of distress, you got to talk to your therapy chatbot, or if therapy chatbots didn't exist, your therapist. Like it's crazy. Also, what was the other thing I said? Oh yeah, you know, I mean, about therapy chatbots not being judgmental. Well, you know what? I'm sorry. Therapists are judgmental sometimes. And that's why the fuck they go to school, in order to work through that stuff. And them processing their own feelings is also part of the therapeutic interaction, you know? Like they may feel some kind of way about you doing something if you're late, you know? They may be like, why is this person always late? They're useless, or they're tardy all the time, or some shit like that. The therapist has to work through those emotions, and the process of them having to deal with that and still present to you as a professional therapist is part of the process, you know?
Dude, sorry to jump in right here, but
oh no, you're good.
I totally feel you relating to, you know, therapists essentially not being non-judgmental, but like judgments, you know, I hate to say it, do provide guardrails for the society that we live in. Shame,
hell yeah.
You know, aside from obviously the laws, you know, we have a social contract with pretty much everybody that you interact with at all times. And in the internet age that we now live in, you know, and I think because of the internet age, like anonymity has kind of, you know, blown up to where like previously, if you did something wild, like at your school or something, okay, everybody knows you at that school of, you know, a couple of hundred people know you did that and it was wild and you should not do that. And future people should know better than to do that, essentially. But now, because of the internet, they, you know, with the one potential to become famous and make some kind of money off of some, you know, misbehavior or toxicity or randomness, you know, just being different, not even just, you know, and I don't mean being different in any, you know, positive light. I mean in, you know, negative societal ways of like attacking people or prank videos and, you know, different shit like that just kind of garners attention seeking. I think that, you know, we're already in a society where like that shame and judgment is lacking. Not to say that we want more of that. We don't want, you know, the government coming down on our heads over that. But like we have lost pieces of our society. As damn, now I sound like a fucking old head. Like goddamn kids these days, they don't fucking listen. They don't want to have no shame. They all got their pants around their ankles. Goddamn, and this and that. But I mean, you know, honestly, like outside of, you know, those particular examples, like it's just real shit of just like, yo, if you knew better, or, you know, you recognize that this was a bad or toxic behavior, you would not participate in this behavior, would kind of be, you know, my thesis.
Yeah, for sure. And one more, you know, I guess aspect of my position statement on AI therapy, I feel like I've been mulling over this stuff in my head, and, you know, no one's like, you know, running up to me on the street talking about, Tunde, what do you think about AI therapy? You know,
I am,
but I appreciate you, Earls. Let me get these hot takes out, man. But, I mean, but look, I mean, at the end of the day, like, to me, therapy is a human thing. You know, it's now AI chatbots can emulate the conversation, so, you know, that's inherent in therapy. But if you go and look into like what they call depth psychology or psychodynamic therapy, or, you know, I mean, this is the lineage of Freudian psychology or, psychoanalysis. It's that the sort of the conduit for emotional healing, I guess you could say, is the therapeutic relationship. It's like, you can't, here's just an analogy, like you can't raise a child without a human, it's like you can't like give a child to some sort of like system or, this mechanism or something. It's like a child is developing bonds with their caretakers and is raised by them. It's a fundamentally human thing. And I don't want to imply or suggest that therapy is like raising a child, but it's therapy is about development of self-awareness and, understanding of your emotions and, your relationships and your history, your lived history. And, the thought or the school of thought of depth psychology is that the process in which that happens is facilitated through a relationship with another human being, a person who's trained to provide this sort of treatment, who has credentials and qualifications and all that. But ultimately, it is a fundamentally human thing, and I have not seen yet that chatbots can, emulate humans, the full scope of humans. I'm not just talking about written word, but the full scope of what it means to be a person. So until then, I think you can call it, AI therapy, but it's not, doesn't actually address the fundamental value of what therapy is, which is having this complicated professional relationship with another human. This therapeutic alliance is what comes from it is, people have said a corrective emotional experience or corrective emotional healing or something like that,